Guys, today we're going to be talking about the slow and grueling rebuild of the Detroit Lions. The Lions, obviously, this season have been absolutely amazing. If you go on Google, search up Detroit Lions. No, bruh. Detroit Lions. Oh, here. But they're standing second in NFC North. Packers are third. They have the same ranking as the Lions. Who would have thought this day would come 3 years ago? The Lions were losing out most of their games, getting destroyed by the Packers, losing to the Bears, losing to the Saints. That was when they had Drew Brees, though. Barely etching out a win against the Falcons. This was a Philip Rivers led Colts team, though. Losing to the winning barely against the Commanders, losing 20, bruh, losing 20-0 against the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, losing to the Packers, who were obviously a very good team, destroyed by the Buccaneers, 47-7. I actually watched this game live. I was in Florida. Blaine Gabbert had a good game against them. Blaine Gabbert is the second string quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He threw 9 for 15 for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then to etch out their season, this was when they had Matthew Stafford, obviously. First order of business that they did from this season, from going from a 5-11 season, last in their division, almost last in the NFC, second or third to last in the NFC. First thing they did, got rid of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was 32 back then when they got rid of him. If you go search up Matthew Stafford on Google, no, that's Jared Goff. If you go search on Matthew Stafford, he's 34 now. He was 33 last year when they traded him. Rotting. Last couple of years, this season, bad, absolutely. Last season, interceptions high. 2020, 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 96 uh rating. Not the best of seasons. It was obvious he was aging a little. This season came out of nowhere, and I think it's purely because of Sean McVay. Not Sean McVay. You're seeing what Sean McVay is doing with Baker Mayfield. He's making Baker Mayfield look like the freaking greatest of all time. This, I think, was purely because of Sean McVay and that offense and the coaching behind it. It was absolutely phenomenal. But 2020, if you look at the last couple of seasons, his best season for Detroit was in 2011. After that, you had this season low touchdown, high yards, low touchdown, low interceptions, high yards, high decent amount of touchdowns, high interceptions, low touchdowns, high interceptions, high touchdowns, decent moderate amount of interceptions. It was always about the interceptions for Matthew Stafford. I don't think in a season where he's played a complete season, I'm not talking about like 2010 when he got injured, 2009, his rookie year, obviously he had way more. But look at all these seasons. If you look at every single one of these seasons, every time you see one thing, he's always had more than 10 interceptions in a complete season that he's played. Never has his rating gone above 100 except with the Rams, and that was under Sean McVay, one of the greatest coaches of all time, according to me, with what he's done over the last 6 years with the Rams. I don't think Bill Belichick could have done a better job. Now, you look at, I think the Lions won out on this trade because look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff's 28. He was 27 when he got traded. Young guy, bright future. Down years, you get him at a low price. You get him to sign at a low price. Even the year that he got traded, look at this. Even the year that he got traded in 2021, no, 2020, his last year with the Rams, I don't see, like, he had 13 interceptions, 20 touchdowns. Your team made the playoffs under him, close to 4,000 yards, 67 completion rate. I don't see what the problem is. Why would the Rams trade Jared Goff? That is my question here. You got a young quarterback who is obviously your future, who hasn't played bad, who has played maybe at worst average, at times good. You had a guy that led you to the Super Bowl and you lost under a Sean McVay offense. That's given. But look at the season in Detroit too. Not over 10 interceptions. Low on the passing yards, low on the touchdowns, but that was the Detroit Lions. What do you expect? First year as a Detroit Lion. Obviously going to be horrible. You see Matthew Stafford's first year in Detroit, and you say Matthew Stafford's last couple of years in Detroit. 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. This was good numbers compared to that. Look at and especially this season for Detroit. It's absolutely paying dividends. Matthew Stafford would have been 34, age 34 season, experienced quarterback, your leader. He did not win games. Matthew Stafford was a good stats guy. He had good statistics, decent statistics, average statistics, above average statistics when he played a complete season. But he didn't win games. If you look at the Detroit Lions ranks over the last couple of years, 2020, 2021, that was Jared Goff's first year, bad coaching. 2019, 2020, 3-12-1, 3-12-1 under Matthew Stafford. Pretty sure he was injured that season. All right, whatever. He was injured. 2018, 2019, 6-10-0. 2017, 2018. Where are they? 9-7. This was the season that they made the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, they didn't even make the playoffs. Because why didn't they make the playoffs? Because 3 teams from the NFC South made the playoffs. It's kind of wild. 2016, 2017. 9-7. 2 years. Oh wow. And then you look at 2015, 2016, 7-9. You see Matthew Stafford's career win-loss record. Overall win-loss record. You can see he was 89, 101, and 1 in his entire career. Didn't even break even with the Lions. Most of his wins, like the things that's propelling these, is that Rams year that he had last year. Not most of them. Like he's had these 9-7 years with the Lions and everything, but you had that. Now back to the rebuild. Diverting from the Matthew Stafford Jared Goff trade. That happened. You had that. They had last year. Let's go Detroit Lions. 2021, 2022 schedule. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's not the. Now let's go with the ESPN.com. Now, this wasn't the best season for the Lions. Obviously. Wait, what? No, this is this week. This was this. No, that's not right. Where is I want 2021, 2020. I'm searching this up right correctly, right? I feel like I'm searching this up wrong. One sec, guys. I just gotta figure this out right now. I think I figured it out. Yep, there we go. Now this season was an absolute horrid season. We had, well, there. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was absolutely horrible, absolutely mind-blowingly horrible. They had one game where a running back had over 100 yards rushing. They had one game, three games, one by Raymond, two by St. Brown, Almond St. Brown, where they had over 100 yards receiving. They were they were they didn't have a single win until week 13 against a weak Minnesota team. And then the wins kept piling on. They got 3 towards the end of the year in their last 6 games, 50%. And then you can see here too. The only like this, I don't know why that happened. 40-46. Eagles were not that good a team. Their offense in some of these games showed glimpses of success, and their defense was absolutely mind blowingly understandably horrible. But you can see whenever they win, they won pretty convincingly. Jared Goff was a good quarterback. He had over 200 yards passing in almost every single game. In that tie, he had 114. Tim Boyle played that game. Goff had 171 in this one. Boyle played these two games, and then Goff came back. Most of the games, he had over 200 yards passing. I mean, this was obviously not going to be a good year for the Staffordless Titans. Now we come to this year. They make big moves in the offseason. They start the season off as a Detroit Lion team does. Absolutely mind-blowingly, astronomically horrible. But look at the scores. Lost to Philadelphia in week 1. 38 to 35 against a team that was undefeated. Right now it's 14 and 2, I'm pretty sure. 13 and 2, 14 and 2. Right now they're 14 and 2. This was a one score loss by a field goal. They won against Washington, which is a 7 and 8, 7 and 1 team right now. 36-27. They lost by one score to the Minnesota Vikings, which is the 2 seed in the NFC right now. They lost one score to the Seattle, which they started the year out good, but and then New England, that New England defense is pretty good, not gonna lie. 29-0. And then you go Dallas 24-6, not the best. Miami, another powerhouse team this year under Mike McDaniels, 31-27, one score loss. And then from all that darkness, they entered their golden period of the season. 15-9 win over Green Bay. 31-30 etched out a win against Chicago. 31-18 etched out a win against a very strong New York. I watched this game live. It was one of the best games of the season. That was pure Josh Allen brilliance. Nothing wrong with that. From essentially Jared Goff and the offense of the Lions did nothing wrong. It was the defense that needed to hold up against a very strong Jacksonville. They're emerging right now. 40-14 destroyings. Against Minnesota, again, they clean sweep Minnesota. No, I forgot. One loss. 34-23 against a very, very, very strong Minnesota team. They didn't even make it a one-score game against New York Jets, which is another emerging team this season, 20-17. And then you had this little blemish. Right now they're going Chicago, Green Bay. Both are really weak teams. Chicago is the weakest among them all. Right now, Chicago is 3-12, meaning if you look at it in a way, Lions get the win over Chicago. Say they do. I've seen worse stuff that happens. Justin Fields is a pretty good quarterback, if you ask me. They play them on January 1st. If they get the win over Chicago, they go to 8-8. They get their record to 500. 500. They go against Green Bay at Lambeau Field, which I think any team playing against any Packers team at Lambeau Field is going to be a tough game. And the Packers also have a lot to play for. They're 7-8. This game will essentially be the tiebreaker because these guys already won against Green Bay in Week 9. If Green Bay beats Detroit, then it's going to be game on in the NFC North, and we're gonna have a big. But if Lions beat the Packers, then I don't see why the Lions don't make the playoffs. Actually, I don't see any reason why the Lions don't make the playoffs because Commanders are starting Carson Wentz. No clue how that's gonna go. Seahawks are just going down in a downward spiral that I don't see an end to. The NFC South is the NFC South. Brady playing like absolute garbage right now. Brian Leftwich has no logic right now. So I don't see why. And also the Panthers coming back up. So they might dethrone. They might take the crown of the South if the Buccaneers decide to choke up in the last couple of weeks. I don't see why the Lions don't make the playoffs out of the NFC North in the wild card. Maybe the 7th seed? Because right now it's looking like maybe Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, 49ers, maybe Seahawks if they can manage to get their. This is a kid friendly challenge. If they manage to get their stuff together, then the Vikings, Lions, Buccaneers. The 7 teams, pretty sure. Eagles, 1st seed. Cowboys with the 5 seed. Vikings with the 2 seed because they're absolutely lucky. Like, I don't see how they're. Get Kevin O'Connell's picture up if you're gambling. I don't know. what else to say? 49ers with the 3 seed and the Buccaneers with the 4 seed with a potential for a home game against the Cowboys. And yeah, I don't see why. And then you got the Cowboys with the 5 seed, and then the 6 seed. I'm thinking the Lions, 7 seed the Seahawks. Wait, did they beat the? No, the Seahawks beat them. Yes, Seattle beat them, so Seattle's gonna get the 6 seed. The Lions with the 7 seed, unless the Packers can find a way to beat Detroit and win out the rest of the games. Now, this all happens only if the Detroit Lions wins out the rest of their games against the Bears and the Packers. And the Packers are out of the equation here. If the Lions beat the Packers and the Bears, they're into the playoffs. If not, they're not into the playoffs. Same thing for the Packers. I don't know who they're playing, but if they beat the Lions and their other team, they're into the playoffs. Otherwise, they're out. That's it, folks. Have a nice day, week, night. Subscribe. Bye.